Good evening, everyone. I'm Mayor Hess. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's our regular City Commission meeting. It's Monday, March 26, 2018. It's now 7 o'clock p.m. If everyone would please rise and join me in saying the pledge. All right, do we have someone for the invocation this evening? Good evening.
Evening. A little low for me.
I think it stands up. There you go.
Oh, yay. All right. Okay. I'll just pray. Holy and loving God, as we began our Holy Week yesterday with Palm Sunday, many flocked and gathered to get a glimpse of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and to touch him. Lord, you entered into our presence through him, and please enter into the presence of our City Commission and their meeting this evening. Please guide their discussions. Grant them the spirit of wisdom, creativity, and also the ability to further your kingdom in this world, particularly our community of Buchanan. Please bless their efforts, and may all that is said and all that is acted upon be for your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. All right, and with that, we're on to item number 3, roll call.
Hess,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Turney,
Here.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mandy. And now we're at public comment. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. Please approach the microphone. Don't forget to say your name as well as your address.
William Cameron, 16535 Reinerson Road, Buchanan, Michigan. Well, I'm compelled to make some comments this evening on one item, one important item, being item 8B, the consideration of appointing Alan Robont to the DDA. Somehow, I believe my comments are not necessary, so given that you all are familiar with Alan, you are familiar with his knowledge, intelligence, commitment to this community, and what he's done since he's been here to help the future of the community. So it's sort of basically like there's no reason for me to be here offering comments, but I appreciate it and appreciate what you're doing for Buchanan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, with that, we're going to close public comment. We'll move on to the consent calendar.
Your Honor.
Yes, Commissioner Moore?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend the consent calendar in this way. There's several different parts to this amendment, so I'll go slow, and if you have a change or a agenda out in the public, we're going to make a few changes to this. So the first, I would like to amend the minutes of March 12th, 2018 to show that I was in fact here. I'd also like to change the word at the consent calendar line that starts with Moore moved, seconded by Cole, to approve the consent calendar to say to amend the consent calendar. So changing the word from approved to amend.
Okay, thank you.
Then I'd also like to add item H on the consent calendar, excuse Commissioner Moore, from the March 19th, 2018 budget workshop meeting. Then I'd also like to remove under the reports section, item 6, the comments from the Taplin Group. They are not here this evening. I'd also like to add in that amendment an addition under new business F, which is added. Consider approval to allow city manager to develop and distribute an RFQ to update City of Buchanan welcome signs. And then under the last, before we adjourn, there's an item we're adding C under the closed session section. Approved closed session minutes from March 12th, 2018.
Okay,
And that's the end of my amendment.
all right.
Here, I'll need a second, right?
Yes, okay, roll call, please.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole, Hess.
Yes,
Hess by majority.
I've got one now, too.
okay, yes.
I want to remove E and G from the consent calendar, put it under new business, and I want to put Alan Robrandt for consideration of DDA committee on the consent calendar.
So you want E and G under new business, and you want F under her, I'm sorry.
I want to add, I guess she
You want-
added an H, so it'd be I.
Okay, so E and G will go to new business, okay? Do I have a second?
Don't need a second.
Oh, yes, that's true.
No,
Well,
you can pull things off.
Okay, well then first of all, I'll pull E and G off.
okay,
And then I want to amend the consent calendar to add Alan Robrandt to the consent calendar.
okay, I'm gonna need a second.
I'll second my motion.
You can't make the motion and second the motion.
So let's move E.
He wants to remove E and G.
E and G.
Okay, motion fails. We are up to reports by departments, committee, and boards, and this evening, we're gonna hear from the police code enforcement, and Assistant Chief Tim Gaines is here to speak to us this evening.
We didn't approve the consent calendar.
Hey, hang on a second.
Well, we made the motion to amend it.
But
That
we need to
was,
approve it.
we need to approve the amended consent calendar.
Sorry, Tim.
Tim, I'm sorry. I'm good, go ahead. I'll make the motion to approve the amended consent calendar.
I'll support.
Support?
Okay, roll call, please.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole, Hess,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, sorry about that. Okay, now we'll hear from Tim. Come on up.
I won't interrupt again, Tim.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to stand in front of you to talk a little bit about our police department. You should be very proud of our police department. In the last couple of years, we've kind of had to take a real hard look at our police department nationwide of how we police these days. How's the community looking at the police? How's the police looking at the community? And that had to happen here. We had to take a hard look at how we were doing things. So with that said, back when I was a younger officer, we always had like one officer that was a community policing officer. He was the kind of the guy that went out and did things. Now we have it where all officers are community policing officers. That's what we're thriving for here in Buchanan, to make everybody get connected to the community. And we've seen great things happen. We've done things that we've never done before. We've reached out to different groups that we've never done before. just here recently with everything that's been happening in the churches, we've had numerous church groups call up and want to have conversation with us, want us to come into their church facility and walk around and make it as safe as possible. We never had those before. We've got officers doing that. Our goal is to protect and to serve. So we want to make sure everybody's safe. We put on different programs. Some of the programs we put on, since we're talking about that, is citizens' reaction to active shooters. We've had those. That's been a big request for us. And if anybody's interested in those classes, whether you're an individual or a business in this area, please reach out to the police department. We'd be happy to put those programs on. Some of the other areas that we've reached out to is the senior center. That group, we have taken officers into the senior center and put on programs, scam programs, because for some reason, criminals like to go after the weak, and they consider the elderly the weak, and they go after them for scamming them of money and stuff like that. So we've been in there trying to educate them and help them and protect them from scams and stuff like that. With that said, also with the school, as you guys well know, we are very involved in our school, but we've also kind of stepped it up a notch or two. We usually have Sergeant Burnett, who's in there with the DARE program. We've got other officers doing different programs with the students in the school, with the Boy Scouts. I know tonight we just had a Boy Scout meeting. One of our officers was there to talk to them. So really trying to get involved in the community. And with that said, we've got to reach the community as where they're at. And one of the things that we've done, not so much for me, but I'll introduce the officer that's kind of behind our social media push. Okay, I'm kind of the old dinosaur. I don't get into that, but I do have some younger officers that do. And that's been a huge success for us to be able to reach the community where they're at. Everybody likes to be on social media. So we kind of tapped into that. And with that said, I'd like to bring the officer that kind of has spearheaded that program, who's also the founder of Bree's Tips. So with that, I'd like to have Officer Bree step up and explain a little bit of what she's been doing with those programs. Bree?
You're blushing.
How are you all?
Good, how are
Good.
you, Bree? Thank you.
Good. So I guess I'll go into my Breeze Tips. As you all know, you see them. I've been doing them every couple weeks during the winter because it's been kind of slow, and I don't want to run out of anything to talk about. But I'm going to start getting into weekly again here as the summer comes along. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So it's really helped a lot doing the Breeze Tips of the Week. I think the community really enjoys it. A lot of them reach out and they want to hear about different things. Like I just did the cat tip of the week recently, so I think that helped a lot of people out. And I'm going to move on to I'm going to be doing crosswalks here soon because we're going to have our signs downtown again, and I want to make sure everyone understands, how they can do the crosswalks, how to approach the crosswalks and slow down for our community here. Another thing I just got recently sent to was RAD training as an instructor. The Berrien County Sheriff's Department puts on the RAD training, which is, if no one knows what that is, it's the rape aggression defense. It's put on for mainly women. There are programs as well for men, but you have to go to that training. So the training I recently went to is for women only. The senior center really wanted me to go to this and help out with the sheriff's department as well. But the program teaches women to empowerment through education, dependency on self, decision-making responsibility, self-realization of physical power. So just basic defense skills that they can learn, and I'm really excited to do that. The program is 9 hours without a simulation and then 12 hours with, so it'd be like a 3-day program, and we're going to put it on for free because that's what the Sheriff's Department does, and it's for women ages 12 and up. So that's what I've been doing. lately.
I'd also like to add that Bree is very active with our Wednesday afternoon Buchanan Youth Committee, and she comes sometimes and hangs out with us and plays basketball, and is a very good support person for our teen group. So thank you for that, too.
Thank you, Mayor Hess.
And, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'd also say, well, I am more careful about scraping the snow off my car since that little tip.
Yes, and we can all thank
That was a
Aaron
very
Whitfield
hilarious
here.
segment,
He
so
was-
you
he,
guys did a great job.
He took my abuse while we were filming, and he did a great job, so thank you.
It was very funny.
Thank
so
you.
I shared it with everybody.
I think that thing got like 7,000 hits.
I bet.
To be
was
honest with
great.
you.
It was
It was
great.
great. And it's cool to see it up on other people's Facebooks and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about some of the other things we got going on. Obviously, you're aware that we've got reserves. Reserves are our volunteer officers. These are citizens that want to come and ride in the car with us, do things that we do, help us with security at the schools. They don't get paid anything. They go through a basic reserve academy, which I believe is like 12 weeks long. And they come out, they jump in the car, and they ride around with us. They're just great people to volunteer. Last year, we added up, they volunteered 1,941 hours to the city of Buchanan. How awesome is that? Some of the things that you might see them at is our Thrill on the Hill. They help us do security. Obviously, with the small department that we have, and we have such huge events such as Thrill on the Hill, or even the Memorial Day Parade. I mean, when you start blocking off every single road from Redbud all the way up to the cemetery, you lose people real quick. So it's also very nice to have 22 bodies there to help us, to keep everybody safe so we can enjoy that parade. Some of the other things is they help us with the traffic on the 4th of July with Redbud. It's not so bad as everybody's going out to the track, but at the end of the race, when everything's done, they all come back and they help us with that. They help us with trick or treat and Halloween, and again, like I said, the football and the basketball games. Another group I'm not sure if you're familiar with is we have 4 chaplains that are here with the department, and Edwin he's gone. The one who just said our prayer as part of our chaplain service. They help us with spiritual support on calls that we go out to. They handled 4 calls for us last year, and were able to go out and assist citizens that were going through a traumatic event. So those are a couple of our groups that we have. As you guys have probably noticed, there's a gentleman sitting in the audience. He's got one of our uniforms on. He's one of our part-time officers. We ended up hiring him, I think, about the first of the year. Aaron was added on to give us assistance in ordinance and assist us with helping with the medical marijuana, doing the background checks and all the kind of paperwork and stuff that we have to do. And I just wanted to get the opportunity to introduce him to you. He can tell you a little bit about his story. So if I could have Aaron step up here and just explain a little bit about himself.
I'll be real fast. Name's Aaron Whitfield, of course. I'm 28 years old. Prior to working here, I worked at military. I was in the Army for 8 years, being deployed one time to Afghanistan. When I got back, I got hired on to St. Joseph County Police Department at the jail. I was a corrections officer for 2 years there. After that, I think in April of last year, I got onto the reserve, graduated Reserve Academy with the City of Buchanan. And in about December, I got hired on to do the background checks for the marijuana dispensaries and groweries, etc. That's pretty much sums up my life. So,
And you're going to take some extended training coming up, right? Is that-
correct. April 30th would be the academy.
Okay. Great.
I hear you're a pretty good dog catcher.
They catch me.
I'm glad you're healing.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Somebody-
Thanks for coming here.
Thank you, thank you, Aaron.
Yes, and that is true. Aaron will be going to the Police Academy August 30th, so we're pretty proud of him and wish him all the luck. So With that said, just some of the things else, I'm going to try to finish up here real quick. Our DARE program that Sergeant Burnett has in the schools with the fifth graders, graduation April 18th, and I will get back with you on the time. I notice my notes doesn't have the time on it, but it's April 18th for anyone who has not attended the graduation. It's a great time. The kids are just, they do so well in that program, and it's such a great program. DARE was really big in the 90s, and I think in the early 2000s they just kind of fell apart, and there's very few communities that do the DARE program. We're still attached to it. We're still doing it. It's just because it gives us a reason to get into that school, be with those fifth graders, be able to teach them about drugs and drug abuse and things like that, and get them to have that one-on-one relationship with a police officer of their community. So we will continue to do the DARE program as long as they continue to run it. It's a great thing. April 18th, I'll get the time for you. So with that said, I think I'm just going to open it up to some questions if you have any of us.
Sorry. Okay,
Okay.
Thanks for your service.
thank
Yep.
you very
Thank
much.
you for
and
letting
thank you
me
for the update.
share with you about our police department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we're going to move on to item number 7, unfinished business. We're going to consider approval of an initial engineering agreement with Gosling Cusack to approve the initial phase for geotechnical and property surveying.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is the next phase of the update to our wastewater treatment plant. Our engineer will be doing some initial survey work and environmental studies of the 3 acres we purchased up on River Street adjacent to our present wastewater plant for the future home of the oxidation ditch, which we hope will be completed around 2021. You're very familiar with the project, but the public here, we have a wastewater plant that's has components that are 70-plus years old. It needs to be updated. Although its technology has been around a while, an oxidation ditch is a facility that looks kind of like a lazy river. It's got a big trough, and the water flows around under some power, and oxygen, air is provided to that, and that really enhances the sanitation of the water and the treatment of the water. It's a low-cost way of treating the water. Our plant presently has like 19 different pumps that operate that system. The oxidation ditch will go down to 3 pumps to maneuver that water much more efficient. We won't use much energy compared to what we are using presently. So again, this is the initial phase. This is the startup work. You saw the material in your packets on Friday. This first phase of the design build process that we're going through is the first step, and we're coming to you with the approval for that. The cost for this work is $17,200, and it will provide us this information, the research that they do, will provide us with the full plans, set of plans that will be needed to start the MDEQ permit work. That could take up to 6 months to complete. So we need to get this first step moving forward, and so. Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
I'll support.
Okay, roll call, please.
Wait,
Oh,
he's gotta
hang on
quit
just a
it.
second.
Is this part of the same company that we've already approved pre-budget, or is this a different company?
We did an RFQ where you selected and approved the contractor in the design build process. So this is the engineer that is working with HFC and Davison Construction to get the work done that's needed to obtain the permit to open the door for construction.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Cole, Hess,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Bianski.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we're on unfinished item 7B. Consider the proposal from the Southwestern Michigan Planning Commission to prepare the update to the City of Buchanan Master Plan in the amount of $20,000 as recommended by the Planning Commission and approve a budget amendment in the amount of $20,000 to fund this project.
Mayor and Commissioner, I have the zoning administrator here to speak on the project.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We, the Planning Commission, if you will, need to begin work on the master plan. In the briefing, I did let you know that we have a prospectus and I call it proposal prospectus, as well as a methodology from the Southwestern Michigan Planning Commission. The city did work with them to create the existing master plan, and that was approved before I got here. And we wanted to reach out to them because they did work on what we have. They have a lot of that data and information. They are close by and can come and do the work that we need to have done. And they have provided us with this prospectus. The Planning Commission did take a look at it, and we discussed it at our last meeting. They recommended approval to the City Commission, and so I am here to ask your approval so that we can begin to work on this important project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Dale?
Being on the planning commission, we did have a full discussion on it. Being that we have a lot of other issues on our dockets these days, it's imperative that we have outside help. So we all kind of agreed on this. I believe that these are the same people we had, like you said, the last time, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
And there was a lot of other outside people that actually assisted the planning commission, which we don't have this time. So the planning commission, well, I think it was a unanimous
Yes.
vote that they wanted this to go on.
And I will, to add to your comment, yes, that it's a community-wide project. It's not just the Planning Commission and the regional person. We'll have meetings, public meetings here at City Hall. We'll ask for people's opinion. You know, it's important that we do, and, you know, the other groups here at City Hall as well will be asked to provide their input. So we just need to get the approval so we can begin.
And it's going to start in April.
That
You
is
think
yeah,
that's the
we
intention?
need to start at that time.
We
Okay,
have to set
Commissioner
up a
Dan?
complete outside committee, don't we, for this? And I mean, that's not really what my question is. My question is, did we reach out to anybody else to get any fees from anybody else?
I sent an email to John Enos at Carlisle Wortman. You had given me a note. I sent that on March the 5th, and he said he would get back with me. I have not heard from him yet.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, the more information we can get, the better.
And may I add, the resource you gave us, Commissioner Gansky, was they were located in Ann Arbor? Is that correct? And,
Yeah.
They already made a comment that the travel time could be difficult even for them to do this. So Southwest Michigan Commission is pretty well known to all the communities here. We're just hiring them to help facilitate the work, to keep us on track, get us out into the public, help us get that input for the plan, for both the Planning Commission, city staff, and the City Commission to hear that information back. So that's what this is. We're not hiring them to do the work. We're hiring them to facilitate us to jump through the hoops so we can end up with a good plan.
If city residents are interested in taking part in this, where would you suggest the best way to get information? The city website, or how are we going to let people know?
They can contact me, or they can contact Yvonne at the front desk. We'll post it on Facebook and
Okay.
on all of our outlets.
Okay.
Because we will be we want people to participate.
Yes.
The more
Yes,
participation
that's
we have,
very
the better.
important. Yes. Okay. All right.
I just want to make
Yes.
one comment. You
Yep.
helped me with this. This is one of the things that bothers people that don't like spending money really bad. And it took me a long time to get my mind wrapped around this. This is one of the things mandated by Lansing that we have to do to get taxpayer money that is given to grants that is taxpayer money. So we have to have this for any application that we make out to get tax money dollars back into our community. So we gotta spend $20,000 for this plan, so Lansing says it's okay. So it's just one of them, that's a very short summary, but that's basically what it is. If we don't have this, we don't get grant money.
Yes, that is, yeah, and it's in the planning law that we must do this, so,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay,
want me to make
Thank you
the
very much.
motion?
Yes, go right ahead. Thank you, Deborah.
I'll make the motion that we accept Southwest Michigan Planning Commission to prepare the updated to the City of Buchanan Master Plan in the amount of $20,000, as recommended by the Planning Commission and approved by a budget amendment in the amount of $20,000 to fund this project.
Support.
Okay, roll call, please.
Hess,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, and with that, we're moving on to item number 8, new business. We're on letter A. Consider approval of the Mill Alley project plan as recommended by the DDA. And this evening, we'll be hearing from Tracy Dippo and Peter Lisi. Thank you for coming.
Yes, I will.
We just have 5 slides that we'll be using for visuals that will be projected up on that screen. But, hello, I'm Tracy Dippo, this is Peter Lisi, and the third member of our committee is in the audience, Bill Cameron. Fourth member who helped us so far was Matt Thornton, who's not here tonight. But the committee was made of 2 members of the BPS and 2 members of the DDA at that time. And this goes back a little ways, so if you bear with me, I'll give a brief recap of how we got here tonight. So in the summer of 2016 through the spring of 2017, the Mill Alley Committee was formed. The first order of business was to create an RFP for a survey, get the project areas surveyed, and create a Mill Alley design competition packet. There were no submissions for the competition, but the BPS submitted a proposal separately, not wanting to compete for the prize monies. In summer 2017 through winter of 2018, the committee went forward with building a model for visualization purposes based on the BPS proposal and criteria outlined in the competition packet, which was created by the DDA. Modified and evolved the plan into something even simpler and more in line with the project goals. So I'd like you to take a look at our project goals that were defined in the DDA packet.
You're fine. You're fine.
Point, oops.
Just knocked the wire out of it?
No, it's right
There
there.
you go.
So I'll really quickly read.
Tracy.
She didn't mean for you to go quickly.
I didn't think I
The
touched it.
project should respect the alley's historic character by meeting the National Park Service rehabilitation standards. This is a contributing resource in the downtown historic district, so that was our #1 benchmark. Allow temporary placement of non-permanently installed features for common public use. Minimize the legacy infrastructure and maintenance costs. Keep it as simple as possible. Maintain and improve the view shed to Paris Mill and Buchanan Common. Protect adjoining buildings from additional intrusive action. Maintain resource integrity and retain the alley's contributing status as confirmed by the National Register of Historic Places. And these list our best case goal results. Create a space where people can be engaged in a variety of activities. Remove the existing planters and appropriately repair adjacent buildings. Make ADA accessible from Front Street to the Common and visually connect Front Street to the Mill and the Common beyond. And so this is interesting. A lot of people don't realize that connector plaza that exists today was built in the 1990s. This predates, it was built as access to the mill only. It came before the development of the Commons, the Red Bed Center, the Farmers Market, the concert series, and the events in the Commons, and the library's current location. It was also built before ADA law was passed. It is now a critical walkway between Front Street and downtown, and we have the opportunity today to develop a much more inviting and functional pathway that connects the Arts and History District with commercial downtown. So we're gonna look at some photos now and talk about the specific problems which, as Mill Alley exists today, has. So it's inaccessible for pedestrians with mobility concerns, wheelchairs, crutches, walkers, strollers, or any other physical disability because of that stairway situation. The existing planters, landscaping, and elevated platforms, railings, all create visual obstructions to the mill and water wheel from Front Street. This is a great photo of how chopped up and kind of not clean looking that view shed has become. And that's without greenery, that's just stripped back to raw, bare planters. In the level space between the two buildings, the zigzag planters as shown there are in the way, eliminating more than 50% of the functional space there and limiting its practical use for events involving tables, chairs, tents, or bandstands. And number 4, some elements of the 1990s connector plaza are deteriorating and require attention and money. The survey also confirmed that the current boardwalk south of the race was built over the western property line of Brimfield lot and has to be removed, or needs to be removed. So for all those reasons, we're reconsidering what Mill Alley can be, and we, I guess, at this time would like to transition over to, or do we have more slides? One more slide.
Why don't you go to the next? Yeah.
So Peter took some pictures as if you were at eye level in this model on the right-hand side, showing how this simplified plan of the Mill Alley space could open up that view shed of the water wheel, the mill, and the commons beyond. So that was the 3 right slides. They're trying to get a bird's eye view of what it could be. All of the proposed ideas were enacted.
Yeah, so what we're really presenting here is a concept. That's what we're looking for the city commission to accept, approve.
Right.
You know, once we know that this is the direction we want to go, then we start working on an actual plan. Costs, what resources we have, what it will cost. Our idea is that this project can be implemented in 3 phases, and conceivably the first phase could be done this year, which would be to remove the planters and make sort of a level bricked area, brick paved area between the Union Block and Brimfield's building. Then the second phase, and that project, I mean, the biggest cost there is probably demolition. Those planters will last forever. Rebar, 12-inch thick, and they go all the way down to frost line footing. So, but still, removing that part and rebuilding between the 2 buildings looks to be feasible this year still. And it would open up the space, it would start opening up the view shed to the mill, and it would create a space where you could have an extension of the farmer's market, you could have an art fair, you could have a concert, you could have booths or tables and chairs. Right now, if you put anything in that space, people can't walk through it anymore because it's so narrow. So that's the first phase, and then the second phase would be to remove the steps and grade down at a slope and tie in with the existing boardwalk. And then the third phase would be shifting the boardwalk, rebuilding the boardwalk south of the mill race, shifting it off the property, Brimfield's property. You know, our goal is to make something that when you're standing on Front Street, you see what's out there and say, I want to go have a look. And it's like an avenue going into the arts and history
Yes, I've seen it.
I don't know if the people in the audience have, but it's pretty pared down, dividing that, there's a flat area Peter was talking about, and then a ramped ADA compliant boardwalk that continues all the way to the common, to the end of the farmer's market basically. And then on the right-hand side, trying to retain that open view shed to the water wheel in the middle, is a grassy or some other solution. It's not locked in stone at all. Just not ADA compliant, but natural grade down to the water's edge, similar to the treatment if you go to the mill and ever walk down to the basin area. They'll sort of match up and mirror each other now. And similar slope here. This opens up for seating or picnics or, a lot of easy usage. Again, this could be terraced with timbers, it could be rocks, it could, put elements in there, but we just kept it as simple and low cost maintenance-wise as we could. This plastic fence line that we created was the only way we could come up with to create the idea of a minimal railing. It's not going to be glass or plexiglass, it would be a railing. And we don't know what the code, how many railings per foot running feet is, but that would be pushed to this side, again, not obstructing the view, but offering safety for those crossing over the race and heading to the market.
The model is to scale, so, it should all be accurate. And our idea is that you get down here and you put your eye where the little guys and women's eyes are, and that's what you would see from Front Street or from the sidewalk up here. So when the wheel is turning, you got something to look at there. It's gonna attract attention, and you'll be able to see it all the way from Front Street from the sidewalk.
Your Honor.
Yeah, Commissioner Moore?
Is this the palette that you are proposing to, or is that something that would come later as far as, like, are you matching the brick to the buildings along?
Actually, the plan for, our intent is to recycle the wood brick that exists.
Okay.
So it would be, we think that, we're sort of shortening up the bricked area, which right now extends almost to the stairway. We bring that in to fill in where the planters are now and sort of contain the brick area. We just, green is grassing this ground, if this were a boardwalk or, we haven't chosen materials, we haven't really gotten to that.
Okay,
but
that's what I'm asking.
seem logical, yeah.
How far down the track is this? Is like a preliminary, just really, right, a
Yeah.
concept, yeah, it's fabulous. I think it's something we've needed for a long time.
Commissioner Turney?
How is the funding going to be for this project, or where is it coming from?
Well, the DDA has a line item in their budget that
Okay.
has carried for a couple of years now. And I don't know what that is coming to the budget, but that would be why
Where it's
we are
coming from.
breaking it into 3 phases perhaps,
Mhm.
to make it affordable over a 2 or 3 year period.
Mhm.
Again, until we know that we have a go-ahead to.
You just want to get a go-ahead to get the plan moving before you go to the next phase.
We don't wanna come up with a big plan and
Sure,
somebody says,
sure.
we don't wanna go that way.
Understandable.
I imagine the next step might be meeting with you and, discussing which portions of this would be farmed out, what you can do in-house, all those kind of decisions you make before you create an RFP and then you create an RFP. And then that whole cycle as we
Sure.
went with the survey.
Oh, yeah.
Is months. But, it has to be done and we, of course, want to make it not a burden on the EDA or the city, we just want it to be a reasonable cost.
Sure.
I think it's worthwhile. It's not, it's a bit dysfunctional right now, and it could be something pretty spectacular. I love the lighting idea. There's, this idea of stringing somehow supporting lights that would light that alley at night for special events or year-round.
Well, it kind of goes with our hopes for the common area, because we want to really that would include this with the common area would be a great thing for the city. And I think, Bill, we had, kind of talked about that through the goal sessions. We want to spruce up the area and hope to get more events. This is be an enhancement, I think.
There is a grant that exists right now, and again, this is another reason to sort of move quickly. It would not fund the infrastructure of creating this, but it is specifically for public spaces at the end of the project where you're adding modular furniture or the lighting or stuff, and it's a matching kind of a GoFundMe thing where you launch your social media campaign and you have donors lined up, and in a certain time period, whatever they donate is doubled by this Michigan,
MEDC.
economic development. Okay, so it's there right now. Kalamazoo just took advantage of it in a not mill, in an alley. Alleys, they're very popular in this particular funding campaign, and successful. So you almost can't lose there. We have to find out if loan or if donations from public sectors are allowed, or is it private
Up
donations?
to 10,000 per unit.
So it could even be a way to double the DBA funds, so, right there.
Okay.
Well, and I wanted to thank the two of you as well as Matt and Bill because you guys have spent an incredible amount of time and they didn't mention it, but parts of that can be lifted out, the parts that can be worked on so that if people have other ideas, it can be easily amended and kind of like, yeah, you guys have done an amazing job, so thank you.
I'd like to make the motion.
Yes, yes.
I'll make the motion that we approve the Mill Alley project as recommended by the DDA.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call, please.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole, Hess,
Yes.
motion carries.
The work just started, Tracy.
Good job. Thank you.
I appreciate all the drawings, too. All right, and with that, we're on new business. Item B, consider appointing Alan to the DDA.
Mayor and Commissioner, I want to let it be known that I was the one that pulled this off the consent calendar for discussion. I think it warrants discussion. Again, I recognize Mr. Oban as having a wealth of knowledge and information. However, he's had a past history of alienating people, being fairly decisive in some of his communications. And some of those are devaluing of city staff and other business people within the community. Again, I think it warrants a discussion by the commission and possibly a conversation with the Mr. Robant. So I present you with that information and for your discussion.
Well, I think it's really wrong that it wasn't put on the consent calendar and then pulled off by a commissioner. I think it was extremely wrong by not doing that. The thing about it is he doesn't get along with everybody, but he gets along with everybody else. He doesn't necessarily get along with the clique that's down here, but he's a wealth of information. He's an encyclopedia. He doesn't really have a good bedside manner. Maybe that's why I get along with him so well. The thing about it is anything that you ask him, he digs. And if you do disagree with him, as long as you confront him, you can disagree with him. And most of his complaints have been good complaints. They're just falling on deaf ears. It just bothers me so much that we have so much trouble getting volunteers, and the gentleman that could help us most on the DDA is gonna be, I wouldn't answer any questions, Alan. I wouldn't put yourself through that at all, because it's up to this commission to make the decision, and all you're gonna do is be humiliated, and it's gonna really offend me, and nobody wants me to get offended again. So, That's my consideration of it. I begged him to go on the DDA because the DDA really needs some serious help. We've got a wonderful DDA, it's gonna grow, and it's probably gonna separate itself from City Hall, which it should. And, Alan is gonna be a very intricate part of that DDA, whether we put him on a voting process or not, because I'm gonna be talking to him nonstop. So, if people can't get along with him, we're all supposed to be adults, I get lectured all the time, and when it comes out of my mouth, it's over. If you all wanna hold a grudge, hold a grudge. You know, it doesn't bother me a bit, but I think this is just absolutely appalling that this wasn't moved and put on the consent calendar and allowed to go through. I mean, we can give the lawyers a 45% raise, but we can't allow one of the most knowledgeable people in the city of Buchanan, on the DDA, even though 5 people voted to put him on the DDA. That's about all I got to say about it. I'd like to make the motion to appoint him to the DDA. No second, huh? Well, you're pathetic, every one of you. You just go ahead and follow in Bill's footsteps. The war is on.
Okay, and with that, we'll move on to item C, consider declaration and notice required by the MDNR to close out the MNRTF grant TF 11-039.
Mayor and Commissioners, we previously approved amendment number 3 to the trail grant because the mural had been completed. I see Tracy is still here and her efforts and all of that, despite the vandalism. So our final step now is to request reimbursement from the DNR. As part of that final disbursement, I have copies of invoices and canceled checks and all of that, which I need, as well as a few other items, one of them being a declaration and notice that where we have spent our funds and their funds, that we will declare this property will be held or will be preserved for public recreational use. And we have to, A, make the declaration and notice. Hopefully it'll be approved tonight, and then I will take it to the Register of Deeds because it needs to be recorded. And Exhibit A, which I don't believe you have, is it's a several-page Exhibit A, but what it is, it's a quitclaim deed from Norfolk Southern Railway Corporation, the railroad right-of-way. It's a quitclaim deed to the city with all of those legal descriptions, as well as a copy of the limited easement that we have against, I should say on Mac Elliott's property and Colin Elliott's property, where we have the easement for the trail. So those are the things that we will attach it to. But this is just the declaration that they want us to declare, and so I'm asking you to do that with this document. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Do we have questions?
I'll make the motion that we approve the declaration and notice required by the MDNR to close out the MNRTF grant, TF 11-039.
Support.
All right, roll call, please.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole, Hess,
Yes?
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and with that, we're on item D, consider and approve enhancing our water system SCADA control with the addition of a new program logic controller, hardware and software to reduce our present and future data consumption costs.
Mayor, Commissioners, in the briefing, you had an explanation of this enhancement to our SCADA system at the water treatment plant. Again, as data becomes the really marketable point in a lot of our communications, the present SCADA system that we do have uses lots and lots of data. It is, we are reaching out and touching our water towers, our pumps, our wells multiple times a second. and that is becoming clearly expensive and will only get more expensive as we go into the future. What we're proposing here is this enhancement, a little tweaking, some addition of some hardware and some software to reduce the data touch down to 30 seconds of that system, saving us quite a bit of data usage. Again, that program, we have our vendor that monitors, helps us monitor and maintain that system, has made this recommendation to stay a little bit ahead of the data increases that we'll be seeing. The cost for the new software and their programming work is $4,000, which is on the market is nearly an $8,000 product that they've offered to us. And from my research and communication with the operators and others on city staff, this is something that is valuable and should be considered at this time. So I'm requesting the commission to approve this additional work enhancement to our water SCADA monitoring system.
Yes.
I'll make that motion that we approve the new program logic controller hardware and software for Kennedy Industries.
Guess Dale ain't gonna be out here, so I thought I would second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Cole, Hess,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney, Bianski.
So we have to wait for his vote? He's here, don't we? Don't we have to wait for his vote?
It'll only be a
He can't
minute.
abstain. He cannot abstain,
Yeah, we should wait.
We have a quorum in the room.
but he's in the room. He's just in the restroom. So we gotta wait.
Well, the mayor can ask for a recess before the vote is taken.
Would you like me to call a recess?
Go on to the next one.
All right.
I-
we can-
No.
It could be timely in that we could take a recess and have the public look at the model.
All right.
That would,
All right, I'm going to call a 5-minute recess, beginning now.
Don't ever tell me I'm red-faced. Never again.
We're going to close out our recess and resume our roll call, please.
Hess,
Yes?
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole. You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, and moving on to new business item E, we're going to review and discuss the community-wide yard sale.
I did. Said yes.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, that was a roll call.
Well, no, I mean, the roll call of the vote, that was, we were in recess. We didn't adjourn the meeting and then restart the meeting, so. So, yeah.
Okay, so,
for discussion item, Mayor and Commissioners, through a few phone calls this past week to City Hall, there was a concern, seemed to be a concern about the coincidence between the last day of school and our citywide garage sales. Both of those events create a little bit of traffic amongst themselves. Again, our citywide garage sales actually create a significant amount of traffic in town. We actually have parking problems and so on. And that coincides with the last day of school, where we have a lot of our youth drivers in town and a lot of pedestrians walking. So I wanted to bring that situation up to the commission to have a discussion to see if you're comfortable with that being just a very busy weekend, or if you would like to have a conversation about moving the citywide garage sales to the following weekend. That's what we did last year, but that was because of a request by Buck Teens. And Buck Teens will also be functioning this same weekend that school gets out. So, you know, it's going to be a busy weekend. I wanted to bring it up for your thoughts and comments.
Well, I think we discussed this over the weekend. You don't want three things on the same weekend.
That's, it just, it seems to be very busy. I know, moving the garage sales to the following weekend also seems to offer a little stable time period between school getting out, people being able to get the time to set up for their sales. So I don't know what the pleasure of the commission is on.
Why don't we just cancel it altogether? We keep moving it around, making signs, so we just cancel the citywide yard sale. Just stop it. Whenever somebody wants to, we made the decision 2 years ago, and we set the date, and then we got told that we couldn't do it because the Buck teens were gonna be in town and it was too busy. Well, that's what we want. We want it to be busy, but then we're gonna have to make new signs again. So I mean, you know, I'm all in favor of just canceling it rather than moving it around every year and having to make the discussion. I mean, they know when the date is, so let them come down here and read the dates. It's on Facebook, it's out there. And if they want to schedule their stuff on the same dates as the rummage sale, I mean, the school closing, it's going to be different next year. It might be the following week. So then we move it back. I think, you know, it's not nowhere near what it used to be. It used to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's got narrowed down to 2 days. So let's just cancel it. Be done with it. Stop wasting our time down here.
When's the US 12 one? Is that the one that's in August? Do we know?
Yeah.
What
That's
if-
what killed it originally.
Okay, so we had less attendance for, how did that go?
Your Honor.
Yes.
The spring community-wide garage sale is sponsored by the city, but we, in the past, have cooperated with the chamber to produce maps and kind of
right.
infrastructure about that. But the one that was tried to go in association with the US 12 line of garage sales, that was tried for a few years, but and that was being sponsored by the chamber themselves, not the city.
Okay.
So they're two really separate events. I don't really know if they're continuing to do that or have a wish to do that. But I do know a lot of people do look forward to it. It brings a lot of out-of-town people coming around in the neighborhoods. Dan, did you make that as a motion to have it canceled? Okay, so there's no motion on the floor, so I will make the motion that we move the yard sale to the following weekend.
A second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Bianski,
No,
Cole, Hess,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
passes by majority.
Thank you. And then we're on item F. Consider approval to allow the city manager to develop and distribute an RFQ to update City of Buchanan welcome signs.
Mayor, Commissioners, at our goal setting on Saturday, there was a discussion and desire to expedite one of the goals that we've had on the agenda for a while, and that is to upgrade, refurbish, replace multiple welcome signs coming into the city. Commissioner Turney's been pretty persistent with me to try to get this thing going, and I agree, it is very much needed. So what I'm asking is to expedite this process, so maybe we can have some early spring activity on our signs. If we get the process going here, is to come up with an RFQ. We'll search for sign vendors that may want to respond to the RFQ and provide us with a little background on their abilities, some general ideas on what they think we should look at, and then we do provide them an idea of what we have to spend, and that's $10,000. That's what the budget amount is for the signs, and we'll see from their responses how far we believe we can get with with that initial amount of money. So, but to expedite things, I'm asking for the ability to tweak the RFQ that you've been given a copy of. And again, basically, it would be just installing the dates of the process on the form. And it's been suggested that we could give the vendors 2 weeks to have them return, and I'm hoping that either by your next commission meeting or the following, we will have a list of vendors you could look at and maybe select one to move forward. It's the same process we've done with the wastewater plant, an RFQ, selecting the contractor and moving forward, so.
If there's no questions, then I'll make the motion.
And I'll support it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Hess,
Yes?
Cole, Bianski,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Attorney,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We're on to public comments. Item number 9. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes.
I moved
Your Honor.
two things off
Oops,
the
oh,
agenda-
sorry.
Consent calendar.
Do we, okay. Oh, yeah, we did, that's right, sorry about that. So E, which would now be G. And that will be approve the,
No,
oh, hang
I'm
on
sorry.
just a minute. I made a
You'll get your
mistake, and we need to do 2 more things, and then
more
we'll have
items, hold on.
2 more items. Sorry about that. All right, so we're on
But we amended it.
New business item G, and that would be approve the city manager to select the lowest bid portable toilet contractor for 2018.
Since I moved it, it's kind of a moot point because the things I moved just kind of, but I'm gonna make the motion that we don't give the city manager the control that he wants yet again to make selection, because I wanna see the bids. I wanna see the bids, and I don't know when they're gonna come in, so we could wait till the next meeting. We really don't need these outhouses until, Memorial Day. So I'm making the motion that we don't approve this.
I would at least offer some information that usually by the 1st of April, we have some of these units in position at the necessary locations. And in the briefing, I believe you were told that the RFPs that did go out did not make it to the 3 normal bidding vendors in time, so we had one by chance understand that the RFP was out. They supplied a response that day because that's when they found out about it, but the other 2 vendors had not received their packet of information until after the due date. So my suggestion here was basically allow us to republish that, give them some time, a very narrow window to respond, but we would contact each of them so they would know. They already have their numbers to get back to us, and that way we could facilitate the presence of these facilities at the time when they'll probably be needed. So it's not necessarily me trying to take any more control on anything. It's just an operational process that we have to address, and I'm asking for you to allow that process to continue.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I don't believe there's a second for the motion that's on the floor.
okay. Motion fails, and we'll move on to item H.
No, Your Honor,
Yes,
we need to have a motion to, in the positive,
Oh.
and I'm making that motion that we approve the city manager to select the lowest bid portable toilet contractor for 2018.
I'll second.
okay, roll call, please.
Attorney,
Yes.
Cole, Moore,
Yes?
Hess,
Yes.
Bianski,
No.
Okay, and then item H, pursuant to the city charter 8.7B, schedule a public hearing for Monday, April 16th, 2018 at 7 p.m. to hear comments concerning the sale and conveyance of public property located adjacent to 324 East Dewey Street, Buchanan, Michigan.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I make the motion that we approve and schedule this public hearing as requested.
I second that.
Roll call, please.
Hess,
Yes.
Cole, Bianski,
No.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, and now we're on to item number 9, public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item. Please come to the microphone and say your name as well as your address. Now you're up. Sorry about that, sir.
I'm William Hartman, or Bill, and I'm here to discuss the truck traffic down Front Street, Buchanan, and through the city. Now that, there was no need for anything in a semi to be hauled through there or downtown. Nobody needs anything out of a semi. Those homes up there on Front Street weren't built for that kind of traffic. I've already talked to Bill. I talked to Deputy Chief Gaines, and he went out. They were hauling truckloads or semi-loads of logs down through town. Got all those school kids up there coming across. Well, Deputy Chief went out and talked to the company and they took care of the logs going down through town and down Front Street. I'm trying to get the rest of that traffic taken care of too. Those homes up there are going. My house is getting cracks I've already fixed the cracks in the living room once. Now I'm going to get somebody in there to give me an appraisal to even fix it again, and I'm going to send the city a bill for the repair of it. I've talked to Corky Balker that owns Sonny's. He doesn't want those trucks down there. I've talked to Charlie Falkenstein. He doesn't want those trucks going down through there. Jerry Backus, my next door neighbor, his cracks in his house and his foundation. My house on the corner up front in Detroit rattles every time those trucks go by. I've talked to Jenny Reed at Guys and Dolls. She's against that. I've talked to, used to be Boosters. They don't want those trucks going down through there. And Tracy Depot doesn't want those trucks going down through there. So why do we have them going down through there? Because somebody put up the sign that says truck route? And if you're not getting money from the state to do those roads, they don't need to have a truck route down through there. And if you are getting money to do those roads, do the roads. Now, I was a little, well, I don't get upset too often, but that don't need those trucks going down through town. That's a historical district,
Yes.
and you're letting those trucks destroy it.
Okay, Commissioner Attorney?
Just a question for Bill. Can you explain that? I mean, I seen a couple of the trucks. He's correct.
Oh, yeah.
What can we do as a city to
Well-
stop this?
Right now, that is a designated truck route. We receive federal funding and state funding for those routes. They are part of the money that we have resurfaced Front Street to the east, Red Bud to the south, and our next hope is that after 2021, we'll be able to resurface Front Street going to the west. That's where those funds come from, federal and state, on those primary truck route roads. To tell a truck they can't use a truck route road puts us into a little bit of a trick sack. I do have a call into NATS, the group that we all sit on that regulates that regional money that we use to find out how we can prohibit trucks from their truck route. And so I haven't gotten a call back on that yet, but that's kind of our situation. We have done a survey. The police department have monitored those trucks. They've reached out to try to talk to them independently about rerouting their work. We have a pallet company business in town that uses that often to run their pallets from River Street back over to.
Mike has already said he'll change that.
Good. Well,
Mike else, he'll change it, but he said.
We're looking for voluntary support to have them use Bakertown to 12 and go all the way around us to come in if they have other places to go in town. But Bakertown is another access, but the semi-drivers have a real concern going over the Bakertown Railroad elevation. So that's what we're getting back for some of the reasons why they don't like having to go out through Bakertown.
We don't like them going down through our town. The buildings down there weren't built for that kind of traffic either.
I'm not trying to be adversarial with you, I'm
Well,
just saying
somebody
that.
is, because we're not getting anything done. Now, if
Yeah.
it hadn't been for Deputy Chief, we'd still had you hauling logs down through town.
Okay, Commissioner Moore would like to make a
So I can
comment.
give him
Is
a lot of
there,
credit.
is there certain, like,
I've
weight
said what I had
limit
to say. It's not going to
that,
go anywhere,
yeah,
so
they-
thank you
they-
very much.
Yeah, I mean, that, so, on those streets, so it can't be like two semis hooked together or something like that.
Double bottom.
Because,
So
I
they-
mean, you know, even going down Terracoop, we get quite a,
It
be it-
depends on the trailer, truck and trailer's configuration of how much weight they can carry.
okay.
Because the road has to be constructed to a certain level or grade, so.
Okay,
As a truck driver, I don't want you to see, I won't go with anything that Three Oaks has done because everybody wants to be green, but they expect the trucks to drive an extra 10 miles to deliver their freight. Now, FAPCO could put up signs as a designated route to get off on 12 and go to Bakertown and back north to FAPCO. Now, I am a truck driver, but I'm an LTL truck driver. So I deliver right here, I deliver to a hardware store, and I deliver down to Smith Street. And I don't even know, am I legally allowed to go on Terracoop? I mean, I sneak down Terracoop once in a while, off of Smith Street.
Yep.
But as a truck driver, an LTL truck driver, I don't want to drive an extra 15 miles, and I'm sorry. But FAPCO could be asked to put up their routes, and they would have to post it there, because talking to the individual drivers, you know, they may only come up here once every 3 months. So if they post it, and when they give directions, because they're called to give directions to the drivers, if they give directions to 12, to Bakertown, you will eliminate some of it. You're not gonna eliminate it all. But you want your toilet paper, you want your toothpaste, so you're gonna have to put up with truck drivers.
okay. All right, anyone else for public comments?
Norma Ferris, 304 North Oak. Why are you messing around with the intersection of 4th Street, Redbud, and River? That intersection is 70-plus years old. Who is complaining? It handled Clark, it handled Conair, it handled Electro Voice, it's handled school buses. Who is complaining? I don't hear anything.
We're just updating, trying to make
Why?
things as safe as possible.
We're gonna
Oh,
straighten
stop it.
that out, Norman. I don't like the way it is.
You've just come in.
Whatever. All I can say is we're gonna try to straighten out that road so you don't have that little curve going down there. We're getting new streets, we're getting new lights, we're getting updates, we're getting improvements. Everything doesn't stay 70 years in a row. Sometimes
Then
we
why
have-
can't we as residents see something done with our streets?
Talk to the state.
No, I'm talking to you. You make those decisions.
We're getting grant money to help us do that, so it's not gonna cost us.
Then give me the phone number.
Talk to Bill.
He
No,
told
you-
me to talk to you.
And I can talk to you too, Norma, after the meeting, okay?
Maybe I can add a few comments on that. Actually, it's part of the manager's comments. Again, in your briefings, you've heard some updates about the one plan that we do know for sure is that we've been funded through state and federal monies to upgrade the traffic light at that intersection of Redbud, River, and 4th Street. Okay, that's a plan that we have in hand, ready to go. We're hoping to get some of the details completed by the 2018 year. If not, we're going to be bounced to the early construction period for 2019. but there's an opportunity to look at the time we're doing this traffic light improvement, which includes ADA ramps and new curbs and gutters around that area, that intersection, there's an opportunity for the question, do we want to maneuver 4th Street slightly to the north and better line it up with River Street and make a more efficient intersection? That will take some road monies that we do have in hand and available to make that slight movement to the north of 4th Street. So that was one of the options. The third option, which you've also heard, was really a pretty salty price and kind of got set off to the side pretty quickly, is the roundabout for that location. And even the roundabout would be pretty tight to even get it in, and then it would be $500,000+ to do. A lot of money to make the changes there. But the slight movement of 4th Street at that intersection could be about $140,000 to complete. That's considering some new intersection infrastructure under 4th Street, some new paving all the way back to Short Street, coming up into that intersection. So it's one of those opportunities that will be detailed to you actually at the end of this week in your briefing. You'll have the information we've received back from Whiteman and Associates on the background for, to have that conversation, to understand what the intersection will look like if we, and if you want to pursue that option 2. But in hand, what we know, we have a new traffic light coming there. There'll be improvements in the intersection with curbs, ADA ramps. We know that for sure. We've got that in hand. It's just if we want to go to the next step and make some alterations there, we can do that. So you'll have that information in your packets this week.
Okay. Is there anybody else for public comment? Okay, with that, we'll move on to managers' comments.
Again, I want to thank the PD and Bree for, taking that effort to go receive the training. And again, you can train people, but then they have to have an internal spirit to use that training and make the best of that for the community. I do recognize Bree for that, and I am, very, very happy with the police department and their performance. Tim touched on some of the things that they've been involved with most recently, and again, school safety is at the top of everybody's list. I can say that we've been very proactive with the school. We've had even greater dialogue most recently, and it was a very good meeting with the school, so we are working on even better procedures and protocol regarding our involvement with the high school and all the school buildings here. I know there's an open house coming up this Wednesday in Niles. Niles has kind of helped organize, along with Buchanan Schools, to have an open house over in Niles to discuss this particular issue and have that discussion in the open public forum. So we'll be attending that meeting on Wednesday. Well, if you're wondering what I've got a big rock on my counter here is, I wanted to display. You had received information that we had a significant water leak that we discovered that was basically invisible to our operation, and it appears that this water leak under 4th Street at Cayuga had been there for years, and the leak, this rock happened to be on the top of the water line where it was leaking, and I know glaciers have a tendency to do this, but a water leak, no. But this is a rock that has been hollowed out by the extent of water that's been flowing on it unfortunately, for a number of years from our water supply line. We were able to trace this leak down because blocks and blocks away at the end of Richard Street at Victory Street, we noticed an increased flow in the stormwater pipe, and that was due to inspections because of the SAW grant. And we started tracing that water source back, began testing it for fluoride, and we were able to track it back to that intersection where everybody's driven over it for years and years. There's no water that leaks, and that's usually what we look at to find water leaks, main breaks, and there was nothing leaking, but the perfect storm was the water main was underneath the storm drain. The leak broke, cleaned out the soil, actually wore a hole in the storm drain, and the water was spraying up into the storm drain for those many years. So we hope, I think the leak was significant, so we'll see in the next month or two if we can detect any noticeable change in the amount of water we're pumping and the amount of water we're billing for. So infrastructure is definitely out of sight and out of mind to a lot of people, but it's there's a lot of work that needs to be done with our infrastructure. Like most communities, our stuff's 70+ years old, and it's going to need to be replaced. So that's all I have.
Okay, commissioners' comments. We'll start with Commissioner Turney.
Thank you, Your Honor. You have to pardon me, I'm kind of losing my voice, so hopefully you can hear. Once again, this past Monday, I had an opportunity to drive with a driver from the Buchanan Senior Center for Meals on Wheels. I'm usually doing this every quarter. Unfortunately, I forgot the report from her, the lead person who for all of Bering County. At the next meeting, I will bring that. The thing I can remember from the report is last year we had 31 people for Meals on Wheels. These are people that cannot get to the senior center. They are really, the only contact they really have is with the driver. And actually, when the driver goes there, we hope that they answer the door. If they don't, then we have to take the next step and try to find help for them. But fortunately, they are still answering the door, and they actually remember me, so that's good. But I know on the list, we now have 38 people on the Meals on Wheels. At the next meeting, I will bring that report, and I can give you more information. The second thing is that I have is that I'm so happy to see young people go out there and protest. I think it's a great thing that the kids from the city of Buchanan went out there and protest, and that's a good sign that things will change. 1968, I was 18, and I was out there. And it's no use talking about me. I want to talk about these kids. These kids are just outstanding in the way they handle themselves. I'm not too happy with the assistant principal's comments when he brought him back into the room. They went out there peacefully because the adults in this world are not doing the job. So the only way that you can change things is by getting out there and protest. And hopefully these 18-year-olds who can now vote will vote them out because the adults are not doing the job. That's all I got to say.
Okay, Commissioner Dan.
I'm a gun advocate, so I think there should have been things done different, and I think the principal probably handled it as best as he could. He allowed them well within their rights, They're 17, 18 years old. They're allowed to carry guns, go to war. They're allowed to vote. They're not allowed to drink. So, we could spend another 3 hours on that. But I want to apologize, and I never, ever apologize because I'm always, I know what I say and I mean what I say. But I can't help myself because I've known Alan since I got elected. He helped me in the sense that I walked in there one day and he says, "You want to run for commissioner?" And I said, "Yeah, it was a bucket list thing." But Alan, I'd have never dreamt in a million years. And you want to talk about adults, there's no such thing. Because we're up here, we're supposed to get along, irregardless of how hard it is to get along with people. And there's a good reason why the Bible relates to people as sheep. 97% of them are. That's the only revelation that I can think. Or lemmings, they run off the edge of the cliff. But I can't, it kind of really breaks my heart that this commission is this narrow-minded and they're screaming for volunteers nonstop, and probably one of the most loyal people to the city of Buchanan, and probably one of the most informed about our history. And you didn't even have the guts to vote. Bill didn't want him because he don't get along with him. He doesn't get along with me, and he's probably going to get along with me even less going forward from here. I am running for re-election, and he's going to have to deal with me another 4.5 years probably, because I think the silent majority will vote for me. And if they don't, I'll be down here anyhow. That's all I got to say.
Okay, Commissioner Moore?
Well, I wanted to thank the police for all your efforts on community policing. I think that's really important to be visible, and especially to the youth, because we want a good, safe community. I also wanted to thank the city employees for sponsoring the Easter egg hunt, because would that happen while we were sitting here arguing over many of these things, and peacefully, without firearms. And we were, although we couldn't be at the Easter egg hunt, we saw the pictures on Facebook and everything. It sounded like everyone had a good time. It was good that you can argue. Here it's another event that maybe the people downtown could have embraced and taken on, but for other reasons like more space and other things, it got moved to Centennial Park. So those are all decisions that people who are volunteering make. So I just wanted to say thank you to the employees. They stepped up, and hopefully there's some other groups that will partner with them as time goes on. And congratulations on a good event. That's all I have.
Okay, earlier this week, I got to go to the Michigan Municipal League Conference in Lansing, and if you're not paying attention to what's going on at the state level with funding, a lot of the problems here at the local level start at the state level because they decide to use our money in different ways. This past year, they increased the amount of shared finances with us, and I think it ended up being like $1.17 for each person here in Buchanan, which wound up being, I don't know, it was like somewhere around $7,000. Revenue sharing with the state, they get our money, we all pay them, and they're really reluctant to share it back with us. So sometimes you're seeing things here in Buchanan that happen because of what happens at the state level. And we had breakfast with John Prose, and he informed us that that gas tax that we're all paying isn't nearly enough to fix what was promised. So you might want to take a few minutes this week and find his address and maybe send him a little letter and ask him, what's the deal with that, because he didn't really explain it too well. But our state government is broken, and we try to do the best with the resources that we have here. And yes, we do have some pretty heated discussions, but the five of us and the city staff are committed to get the services to you that you pay for and that you deserve. And sometimes we do have to have very, uncomfortable conversations. And no one ever wants to say, we can't do this because we have to do this. And those decisions are really rough. And I'm very happy to see that more people are starting to come to these meetings and more people are getting involved because we need you. But we need to be involved at the state level as well. Our state government is pretty broken right now. And because we live in the corner of Southwest Michigan, we don't have a lot of access to our state news, do we? We always hear hear about what's going on in Indiana. And I bet you right now, if I asked you, you would know who was running for government positions in Indiana, but do you know who's running here in Michigan? So this week, that's your homework. If you have time to please look into what's coming down the pike in the state of Michigan. That conference was a real eye-opener to me, and I think probably the chief as well. And with that, we're going to move into a closed session. That's per our charter, item 15268, closed sessions, permissible purposes, section 8H, to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state statute. So we're going to go into a closed session.
We adjourn?
Reconvene.
Reconvene, sorry, readjourn.
I make the motion that we convene.
I need a motion to, or we can just go ahead and.
You're reconvening.
Yes, we're reconvening, all right. And then we need a motion on these two properties.
Well, I'll make the motion that we approve the local medical marijuana provisioning center permit for Front Street Buchanan Development LLC, the Treehouse.
Okay, can I get a second?
It's not a provisioning center.
I'll second.
Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Dispensary.
Cole? Bianski?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Turney?
Yes.
Hess?
Yes?
Motion carries.
Thank you. Then we're going to consider approving local medical marijuana processing facility permit for 215 Post Road for Redbud Roots, lab number 4.
So moved.
Okay,
Okay, I'll second.
all right, roll call, please.
Turney?
Yes.
Cole? Moore?
Yes.
Bianski?
Yes.
Hess?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And then we need to approve the closed session minutes from March 12th.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
All right, all in
Support.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.